So we're going to get into some heady stuff. I call it heady because it's the kind of things we don't really study or spend a lot of time on. You've heard Phil on some of these preach before, but in this class we like to go deeper so we can understand it. I'm going to say it again. I recommend, I know not everybody wants to spend the money. I do recommend you get this book because the point of the book is to take what you're going to learn today, which are PowerPoint slides and reading, and go back and study it. Because a lot of times we're not studying, right? And it's important to study. So what we're looking at here is this whole idea of justification. We're in book 4. In book 4, we're getting into God's will for your life. We're trying to understand what is it? What is God's will for my life? You know, it's not who should I marry? It's not where should I live? It's not, how should I dress today? It's not what job should I take? All those things, you can do what you want if you know Jesus Christ. Those things don't matter. I mean, how many times in life do you take a job, doesn't work out, you find another one and you go, this is my dream job. And that's how you do it. You don't know ahead of time, right? It's okay to be wrong. It's okay for those things. But when it comes to God's will, when he says things like, be holy for I'm holy, these aren't suggestions, right? So we went through in detail 12 things in a previous class of what God's will for your life is. He's very, very clear. It's easy to see. Now we're going deeper into the 3 main areas that encompass those 12 things: being justified by God, being sanctified by God, and then glorified by God one day in your life, him through you. So we're looking at those 3. We're in justification. We're coming to the end of that part today, okay? So we're going through this today, this whole idea of what a covenant is. And then what does it mean to be consecrated to God? Then we're going to look at this idea of consecration a little deeper. And we're going to watch a rather lengthy video. How many people have ever heard of Rosaria Butterfield? I mean, you're going to love this lady. A flaming lesbian, left-wing leftist professor in Syracuse who's now a pastor's wife. And it's like, okay, how does that happen, right? And she teaches, she's very academic, but she's very deep theologically. So we're going to watch her story. And I recommend her. How many people in here would say they have friends who are gay or lesbian or transvestite? Do you know how to talk to them? Do you know how to share the gospel with someone like that? Not easy, is it? Especially young people, right? Because how could a loving God not either heal them of their desire, or why would he ever throw someone like that in hell? Because he loves everyone, right? Sounds like those are things we need to answer. We need to understand, right? I've had many conversations on this. So we're going to listen to her, and then if people want to go deeper and talk about this, we can. Probably not today, but we could pick I always say, hey, we can hold a class and just have a conversation if you want on any topic. Okay, so we've talked about this before, this whole idea of the building blocks for God's will. And the first one we're into is justification. And each block is lessons that we're studying. So this is about being freed from the penalty of sin. What's the penalty for sin? Death. And what does that mean? Like me, I'm growing old and one day I die? No. What do you... Huh? Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a phrase by D. James Kennedy. I used to love that guy in Florida. He said, born once, die twice. Born twice, die once. Right? So we all have a physical death, but when it talks about in Romans 6:23, when it talks about this idea of wages of sin is death, it's talking about literally spiritual separation for eternity from God, right? And in justification, you're no longer under that penalty. Just think about this now. If you know Jesus Christ, he's your Savior, he's your Lord, you are no longer under the charge from Yahweh the Father for death. You're freed from that. Yeah, big deal. I mean, so what? What's a big deal? Okay, right? Does that sound like a big deal? I think so. I think it's kind of a big deal, right? All right.